Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages. Welcome to the live stream for this, the 19th of October, 2018. I am your MC for this evening, scoobie331. All right, you guys know the deal. If you are not subscribed to these people that you're seeing on the screen in front of you, I would hope that you would subscribe to each and every one of them because these people are the reason that we are here because I'm only so entertaining, and that's not going to take us too far. These folks are going to carry us the whole way into the end zone. Now, that's about as much football talk as you're ever going to get out of me. So, without further ado, let me run through it. Now, please pay attention because the people that you're going to see on your screen are not going to match the people as they appear on my screen. So, as I read them off, it's going to come in a different order. So, pay attention as here we go. So, starting off, we have he's muted. I think he might actually be out at the store or doing something, but we have voice of Burnside with us, the Burnside Film Project. Burnside, are you there?
He's dead.
Nah, he probably
no,
yeah.
he's still dodging bullets in Chicago.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, we'll get back to him, of course. And we have with us, of course, looking dapper as always, especially with his reckless flaggetry, Canadian flag. We have with us Irving Twin. Irv, what's happening, man?
Good evening, Scooby. How are you?
Hanging in there, brother. Hanging in there as always. And we have
Jeff Goldblum.
and we have with us, as always, he's just coming in for a landing right now. We have Nano Reaper. Nano, what's happening, man?
Hey, well, not a hell of a whole lot. Actually, about to look up and see if they have the Toronto. Was it today's Toronto's mayoral elections?
Coming Monday.
Coming Monday.
Oh, nice. We'll get to that definitely, Irv, because I definitely want to cover that. Remind me. You know, if we get a minute where there's a little bit of air, just to definitely step on it and take that opportunity.
For sure.
Yeah, and of course, I love this man's avatar. I really do. Every time I see it, it's just so cool because it looks like the crosshairs of hell. Like seriously, this is what you would have on the end of like one of those Romulan rifles. Is it from? Well, either way, I can't get over that avatar. I do love it. It looks like a really sick tattoo. Anyway, Sinrise, what's happening, bro? How are you?
What's up? It's tattooed on me, and I drew it. I created that, so I don't know if it might be from something and I didn't realize it, but it's pretty old. It goes back to like 2003.
It looks similar to some of the artwork used in that old video game Hellgate London.
Oh wow. Huh.
Yeah, and I was a big fan of Blade.
Crosshairs to Hell. I like that. I haven't heard that before. That's good.
Yeah, well, I was looking at it, and I was trying to think of it. I'm looking like, okay, is it like from Star Wars? Is it from Warcraft? What is that? And then I'm like, it just occurred to me. I'm like, that looks like the crosshairs you'd see on like one of the Predator's rifles.
Yeah, it was a logo for my band years and years ago.
That's cool.
That's cool. But I tattooed it on myself, so when the band ended, I kept the symbol for myself.
That's cool. Still, that's his history to it. I mean, that's pretty fucking awesome.
Thanks.
And speaking of pretty awesome, we have with us, of course, basically, I'm here as an MC. I'm here as like a host, the person who makes a lot of this happen because I have no idea what I'm doing, and she screams at me enough where I actually get shit accomplished. We have Tara Sin with us. How are you, Tara?
I'm tired, especially after me going all She-Hulk last night.
I'm sorry that you had such a horrible night. Hopefully tonight is a better night. And I hate to know, I don't know how to segue how this is going to be a better night for you as you do vote Democrat, and considering that the title of this stream is about the Democrats and what a bazanga week they're having.
Hold on. Shut your big New York trap.
Uh-huh.
You guys are going to be happy as hell to hear I did vote for 2 Republicans today.
All right.
Yeah.
You're not completely out of your mind. That's good to hear.
Well, I hate our Republican governor, Rick Scott, and he's running for state senate. Well, his opponent's been running a smear campaign on him. And when Governor Rick Scott addresses it in his own little campaign video, he's like, smear campaigns are a waste of time. I want to focus on Floridians and my family. I have 6 grandsons. That's right, 6 boys, and just talks about that. And I'm like,
So what you're saying is you vote on issues, not on parties.
yes.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I
Need
just
more
like to
people
bust
like
the
you.
balls anyway. Yeah, no,
And-
Tara's good people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I went through their issues, like the ones that were going for governor. Both of them were actually trying to ban legalized abortion in Florida, and I can't. That is a hard limit for me when it comes to voting.
Yeah.
Voting people in place, and so I had to go for the other team because I am not in agreement with banning necessary, meaning not as birth control, abortion.
Oh, okay. I was about to argue.
But
with you, yeah.
they can't because Roe versus Wade has already decided this.
Yeah.
This is such a non-issue nowadays that it's something that both parties pull up, knowing that anything they do has to stand up to constitutional muster,
Yeah.
and so.
Well, you know, that's the real reason everybody freaked out about Brett Kavanaugh.
Again,
Right.
you have to get to the Supreme Court another abortion case. They can't just go, we're going to go back through and change all of our rulings.
Well,
They
I'm not
can't
saying
do-
it was rational. I'm just saying that was the reason. Like
I'm
it had
sorry.
nothing to do
I'm
with any
sorry,
kind of rape allegations. It was all about trying to.
it was a bunch of fucking half-shaved, nobody fucks them anyway feminists with the half-shaved heads and the armpit hair that's longer than mine, that haven't bathed in 6 months and smell worse than a freaking than a Turkish refugee camp.
It's kind of hot though.
Going. We can't have abortions on demand. Well, sweetheart, in order to need an abortion, somebody has to stick their penis inside you. And
yeah, what the fuck are you worried about?
Yeah, what are you worried about? I mean, even if I wasn't married, I ain't gonna go fuck nothing. I got to take a weed whack or two to find it. Okay.
I am personally a formerly extremely closed-minded leftist. I didn't even realize this. One of the reasons why I went from hating Donald Trump to kind of liking him was that since he got elected and because of all the crazy leftist outrage, it made me realize, holy shit, I've been living in an echo chamber for a while. Once I started to branch out and listen to other things besides, Democratic sources, my perspective started to shift, and abortion is one of them. I'm a former Christian. I used to be, very much very religious in that aspect, and but that didn't last that long. I've been an atheist for a long time, and I've always kind of been a supporter of pro-choice because it's choice. And but you know what? I can honestly say, always in the back of my mind, it still wasn't a comfortable position because it's like, you're still kind of killing something. But I always kind of pass it off, and just kind of believed all that, it's just a clump of cells arguments, or it's not a viable human arguments. But when I started to actually listen to the other side, I found myself really coming down on the side of mostly pro-life. I still believe that abortions can be a necessary thing. But yeah, the whole on-demand thing, the whole birth control thing, no fucking way. It's no, and even from a scientific perspective, you can make an argument. That's why I like it, is because you can make an argument from a scientific perspective that the viability thing is arguable because that really depends on where you are. But the fact that it's where else are you going to draw the line, right? From a scientific perspective, what line are you going to draw where you say, okay, now it's a life, right?
13 weeks.
Yeah.
And
the only consistent application is conception, really.
And the thing is when you're looking at, and I'm going to be, when you're looking at we're going to do this because this and this, and or this and this, and it's you look at the actual the things or what they're talking about, and you're like, okay, the right is not talking about nobody's talking about reversing Roe versus Wade, except maybe some preacher in a tent somewhere that's kissing a fucking rattlesnake.
That's right.
All right. What you're looking at is late-term abortion bans, which make some degree of sense when you're talking about a viable fetus. You know, it's a could this child or could this embryo survive outside the womb if it was early induced labor, you know? And at that point, I think you have to draw a line.
Yeah, I get it, but like I mean, if you want to argue along those lines, I mean, I got a pretty good imagination. A baby, a perfectly healthy baby, isn't viable. Left on its own, it will die. You know, if a baby's born perfectly healthy and you just leave it on a table, it can't fend for itself. It can't feed itself. It's going to die. So, I mean, it really depends on how you look at it, honestly.
Well, to that inverse, then if you want abortion on demand up until the baby can fend for itself, that means parents should have the right to kill you up until you're 35 nowadays.
And even then, some people like, yeah. So it's a hard argument to make if you want to get technical about it. You know, the only consistent application that always works is conception. And the other thing is that you're not trying to take away choice itself. You know, we're trying to remove one choice, or at least make it a lot harder to get that option. You know.
Well, and another thing is I do have a problem with federal money going to Planned Parenthood.
Absolutely.
Which then turns around and in this election cycle donates $30 million to the Democratic Party across the states. I mean, that if they're using tax money that's supposed to be for women's programs, contraception, and sex education, and they're lining the coffers of a political party, I have a problem with that. I mean, that's not what that money was supposed to be there for.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, but before
what were you saying?
Yeah, that I think I have a pretty solid argument for some point beyond conception that is at least arguable, right? Like we can all agree that each individual human being has a right to life, yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, 13 weeks is the phase where a fetus develops fingerprints, marking them permanently as an outwardly identifiable individual. That person has fingerprints. The fingerprints will be the same for the rest of their life. That's an individual who has a right to life.
Okay, I can see that argument. I don't have super strong beliefs or feelings about it. You know, I'm still open to having my mind changed on the subject, as it has changed before.
Me too.
And yeah, I mean, that's not a bad argument at all.
I like it.
Yeah.
It changed my mind.
I'm for anything that ends up killing less babies, and I think that if we could make adoption somehow easier and more of a thing that people consider, and try to help promote some of the other options besides killing a baby, I think that we could go a long way to solving the issue.
Still, in a lot of states, they don't allow gay couples to adopt children, and they are still quite capable of raising perfectly happy and healthy babies.
I would agree with that.
I do believe
principle.
Florida is one of the states that does not allow gays to adopt.
Yeah, I don't like that being a law. That's silly. I do get the apprehension, though. There are some troubling statistics.
Yeah, but many of those statistics, and I've looked at a lot of them when it was up for debate last election term.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at them and I was like, and most of them were like paid for by the Christian Coalition and stuff like that. And the thing is that when it comes to that, much of it I have found to be biased. I don't care if it comes from an unbiased Christian Coalition or something like that, but a lot of the information that they were using was biased and old.
I'm sure.
Old
I have no
information.
doubt that that's a typical tactic of
So,
people who
you
with
know,
strongly held beliefs who
yeah.
try to get their
And,
religion
you
made
know,
into law. I don't like those
mhm.
people either. But there are some
So-
statistics that show that there is definitely a prevalent, a higher rate of domestic violence among same-sex couples. There's definitely more
Personally,
promiscuity. So
from what
those
I've
things are
found,
true. Whether or not they're toxic to raising a child, that's really the question. You know?
well, you know, I agree with making sure that the couple has been together for such an amount of time, that, you know, have them go through parenting classes as they should. You know, pretty much things that they would do for any heterosexual couples.
The standard should be the same either way, really.
Yeah, I mean, they. I had a friend. Him and his husband wanted to adopt, and the adoption agency made it so hard on them. So hard. It took them about 3 years to finally adopt their son. Whereas they had met up with other couples, you know, at the adoption agency that got their kid in like 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be blunt. I mean, they do use drugs more than straight people. They have more discernible income.
Troubling statistics, yeah.
Yeah. It's the fact that they are more hedonistic, and it's a more amoral lifestyle. It's a more pleasure in the moment lifestyle, and if they and you know, maybe not all of them, but it's statistics are statistics, you know, and people say you can argue with statistics or make them say anything you want, have never taken a statistics class in their life. You can only manipulate them so much.
Well, yeah, but like I said, the ones that I had literally looked into, I went and looked at ones that they had done years before, and they were using the exact same analysis. And I'm like, no, you need to really do a better one, because you can't use the exact same ones for like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, because it's not going to be exactly the same.
Well, a lot of that is also based on...
It may be exactly the same, but
a lot of statistics are based on the, what do you call it? They're taken and compiled the same time we do a census. And since we only do a census every 10 years, and then it takes 3 to 5 years to compile all that statistical data. So, I mean, there's a reason why crime stats are always 5 years old. It takes that long to compile them.
It's not really an argument for them, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, if you're going to do a statistical thing, actually go out and try and do something more recent. You know, I don't care.
3 to 5 years really isn't that long. Societies don't change drastically in that amount of time.
Yeah, the data sets aren't there. That's what I'm saying. You can't sit around and go, I want a newer data set if the data set doesn't exist.
We have to go off of the information that we have. Right? You got to err on the side of what we can show evidence for, not what is speculative. And the data is the data. Your personal experience may contradict the data, but that's just one experience, right? That whereas the data should at least do a little bit better of a job, even if it's old, than any one person's perspective. To be perfectly fair.
Sorry, I'm more quiet because I'm fighting a lot of pain. Last night when I went all She-Hulk, I hurt my back.
I'm sorry, that sucks. You know, the thing I was gonna say, my personal stance has always been, of course, I'm pro-life. I'd much rather not see any abortions. I think that they're horrible and hideous, and I really cannot think of any situation where they're necessary, but I don't hold the same opinions as other people. Now, the reason that we have it legal till like the last minute here in New York is just specifically because of Murphy's Law. And that's the only reason that I can honestly see where it's legal the way it is, because there is the chance that something may occur that would affect it. And I can understand that stipulation where you might have to have an emergency abortion in case something does happen and it causes damage to the child. And that is a horrible thing. But it is an unfortunate reality and something that must be addressed. That's the reason we have the pro-choice laws that we have here in New York, and I'm fully aware of that. That it's not the world that I want; it's the world that I live in, and it's a reality that I have to deal with, and it's one that I've accepted. That having been said about excuse me, about abortion in general, um, I am 100% for looking for other avenues. Really, there is no reason to have an abortion if you cannot give me a really, really solid reason. I can't understand why you're having it. Like, if if it's because you don't want it to knock your body out of whack, be honest about it. Because you can give the child up for adoption after you've had the kid. If you don't want to go through childbirth and pregnancy, these are the things that you have to, look, that's something that's understandable. But you should have thought of that beforehand. And this is for both of them, because I'm one of those people that I don't give a shit if it's a man or a woman. I'm blaming everyone involved here if there's an abortion going down, because you know now a lot of people are going to say to me, well, the husband has no say, this, that, and the third. Well, then I'm not going to blame him. That's really simple. You're free to go, sir. My blame is going to extend to the person who is actually, doing the deed at this point. And again, blame. It's just that's a hollow word. There's no animosity in it. It is what it is. You did it, so the blame is assigned to you. Happy trails. There's not like any. Um, there's no vitriol behind assigning the blame of who is the reason that this abortion is going down. That's all I'm saying. And my point is, I'm one of those people who looks at all parties involved, because a life is about to be ended before it even begins, if we can really look at it this way. So it's one of those things. I don't like it, but I understand it. But this is actually ironic, because it was the argument itself was the reason. I wouldn't say I had a red pill moment, because anyone who's heard me talk about my father knows that the man force fed me red pills since I was a kid. It really, but basically it was, grab me by the back of my hair, pull my head back, and like just start slamming the red pills down the throat. I was red pilled. It's how it was. I was just not aware of when they kept using. You see, what they do is they lull you into a sleep. It's like hypnotism, and they start doing that shit where they talk, like a woman's right to choose. Now, what they do is they introduce the buzzwords with this politically correct nonsense, and they get you to start saying this shit, and the words lose all meaning. And thank God the Democrats had the poor decision making taste to put this woman, this mechanical fucking woman, out at the DNC convention in 2016. And it was probably the scariest moment I've ever had in my life, where it was like a light went off, a realization. I'm sitting there watching it, and this mechanical broad comes out and goes up to the microphone, and she goes, they try to say that it's about wanting to save a life. It's not about wanting to save a life. It's about wanting to take away a woman's right to choose. And I'm watching this, and I turn to my wife. I'm like, holy shit. Your family's party, because I have to put in that dig whenever I can. Your family's party actually is sitting here trying to tell people that the reason that people want to stop abortions from happening is due to sexism. That's the most absurd thing I've ever heard. And I realized these people are fucking insane. And then the rest of the DNC happened, that convention that they had, and it just started unrolling and unraveling. And holy shit, did it go downhill fast? And that was one of the things when I said, you know what, fuck it, I am not right wing, but I'm giving my support to the Republicans right now because this is nuts. This is the craziest thing I ever said, and I say this constantly. This is not against anyone who's registered Republican. This is against people who are like the elected representatives. You guys are pansies. So that's part of the reason I threw my hat in the ring to help the right because your representatives suck, guys. Seriously, but I will help you because I love the country, and right now you guys are fighting for it. So I will help the right. I tell them that all the time. The left, any of you folks who are willing to come to the table, like Tara's on the left, she's a decent human being, not a problem with her. Herb's Canadian, so he's left by default. It's all good. Burnside I'm gonna go with left because I don't know, it's anarchy.
No, he's a little more right.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I guess
right wing. I mean, anarchism normally is left wing, but it went from being lower left anarchist to lower right anarchist.
Yeah, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
Let him elaborate. I love hearing this, bro. You got the floor, Burnside. Explain this shit, bro.
Okay. I started off as being an anarcho-mutualist because I liked the reforming aspects of it, and I liked the idea of working together with the people in your neighborhood to not only make it self-sufficient, but to make it so that not only do you all own all of your shit, but you're all the people that take care of it. Because on the south side of Chicago, we're always about labor. You need to do this, you need to do that. So I was like, all right, unions have the best gig. All right, we all make ourselves a union. We don't be like a bunch of, fucking scabs that don't know what the fuck they're doing. We actually learn how to do this. We learn how to maintain this. We work our shit. We we take care of it ourselves, and that way we don't have to rely on the city for anything. Because Chicago politics are a fucking mess, Fucking right now, the Führer Emmanuel is, trying to lap up what's left of our tax dollars before J.B. Fitzker comes in to go and continuously screw the rest of the food chain. So I figured, all right, it seems like it's something that works. But the problem is, even though it's about, making societal progress or like trying to progress yourself towards greater independence for yourself and other people in your neighborhood, and the problem was a lot of the people who were either like, syndicalists, mutualists, or anything else within that general sphere, they didn't want to do the fucking work. They just expected it to be done. And I was like, no, dumbass. You can't just magically fucking, write on a piece of paper, staple it to something, and then go, okay, now the light pole will work because I made a speech about how we need the light poles to work. No, you got to go and get the fucking tools. You got to actually get in there, and you got to sucker open.
As long as you have love in your heart, everything will work out just fine.
Yeah.
Hold on.
As long as we just uphold the principles of equality and inclusion, society will just become utopia. It'll just happen, you guys.
No, it doesn't. Because
And then when the aliens are sifting through our fucking ashes, they'll find all our shiny fucking equality badges. It'll all be worth it.
So wait, Burnside, you shifted from left anarchist to right anarchist because you added personal discipline and personal responsibility. And that's what I've noticed about the anarchists in general. They tend to forget that anarchy is not about being completely ungoverned. It's about governing yourself.
Yes. It's about, I need to do something to fix this shit. We need to do something to fix this shit. What are we going to do? We're going to make sure we don't fuck it up.
Try to do more of what works and less of what doesn't.
It literally, That's why I went from like the mutualism thing to just, my mentors.
You're not going to get to greater individual freedom by being a collectivist. Somehow those things don't seem to work well together.
Yeah, because the thing is I had it formulated to where I could have a bit of a balance because, in-group, out-group and stuff like that and diplomacy. But then as soon as everything just went full retard, like literal fucking let's praise Mao Zedong and do step in the street and shit. Yeah. I was, they were like, full on fucking collective everything, collective this,
dude,
collective that.
You are the only person in fucking Chicago who knows who Mao is. Okay? They know who Stalin and they know who Lenin and they know who fucking Che Guevara is.
Revcom knows who Mao is because they're fucking high goddamn god priest heretic motherfucker, Baba Vakian. basically went around with quotes from Mao Zedong and went, "This is a great idea. I was over in China when it happened. It's fucking awesome. We should do it now." And that's why like all the fucking Dead Bodies Matter Incorporated are running around fucking lighting the ghettos on fire that they live in, because yeah, sure, total fucking revolution, right? Burn your backyard for no good reason because this guy who you never even knew, never wanted to give a shit about, is suddenly dead, and you're like, oh, this poor dead guy, this poor dead body, this poor person that we absolutely know was a fucking saint. His dead body matters. So we're gonna burn the whole fucking hood down, homie. Because dead bodies matter.
You know why so few people in the
$38
West?
for a fucking cup holder?
You know why so few people in the West know who Mao is? Because he had a bad haircut and he doesn't look good on a T-shirt. It's that simple.
He looks worse as a piggy bank. Let me go get you one.
Yeah, go get it.
All right.
That's not Mao. That is a Rush Limbaugh piggy bank.
If the hair was a little bit shorter, it would look more like Rush.
Look how ugly this piggy bank is.
Yeah,
it's a hideous dictator of a piggy bank. But here's
that's right. It's Rush Limbaugh.
No, it's actually Mao. I know it kind of looks like Rush Limbaugh, but no, it's Mao.
Is Rush Limbaugh even still alive?
Yes, he is.
Is he still a
He's had several heart attacks, but yeah, he's alive.
He hasn't had any heart attacks. He was addicted to pain pills, and now he's not.
Oh, so that's why he's not interesting anymore.
I was actually watching him last night. He was on Hannity, well, night before last, I forget, but he was pretty spot on what he was saying. So
nice.
Yeah.
But anyways, when I do get that little commie piggy bank full, I'm going to smash the shit out of it, and I'm going to take back its means of whatever fucking quarters change. I don't know. I can't do these punchlines. I'm not a
throw your bodies against the gears and
just take the plug out of its asshole and rape it.
No, that's
you take a really nice pointy awl and shove up in there real good to get all the change out.
I'm just gonna make it not homo and just hit him with a hammer. Just do this funny little comical old school Mad TV skit about breaking open.
So you're gonna pound it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna smash it into itty bitty bits. I'm gonna take all my quarters, and then I'm gonna see if I can do a video or a live stream of spending all of those quarters over at one of the arcades or some shit.
You got an arcade still out by you? Nice.
Well, that's a bit of a drive. I gotta go to the burbs to get to one. I went to go see a movie, and I was like, literally, oh, over here's got an arcade. Oh, there's no crackheads there. Holy shit! I can actually go to an arcade.
They actually, the way that they have them set up out here, you can't open an arcade out by me unless you have to have a certain amount of money. It has to be a certain distance from schools. It has to only be open at certain hours. It has all these things specifically because when we did have arcades back in the day, we had higher instances of rapes. We had higher murder instances. We had a lot higher of that. Yeah, well, believe it or not, the mall, one of the two malls that I lived in between, the one I used to go to when I was a kid, was the Sunrise Mall in Massapequa. It's actually over right behind Jerry Seinfeld's house. And
catapult and I get the fucker.
It was actually, I think it had more like muggings and I think homicides overall than any other mall in America. It was actually the most dangerous mall in America when I was a kid.
That's some bullshit.
Yeah, and I remember very clearly when I was younger, like just how bad it was there, and that's part of the reason that they started putting in all those rules for the arcades, because that mall had two arcades in it, because it was a two-story mall, and it had one arcade by the main entrance on the ground floor, and it had another arcade on the main entrance on the second floor, and then there was another wing on the second floor where they eventually put in a third arcade. So at one point in the early 90s, there were three arcades. and I think there might have been 4 at one point. I don't know, but it.
Fucked up a good deal like that where they had 3 arcades where they could just go and fucking hang out. I mean, they had to go and fucking Oahu rape bar people. They
Well,
couldn't
you
just
have-
fucking, make a consensual trade with women like, hey, I'll give you this crack if you blow me while I play Tekken.
Well, you have to realize the reason that they had all these arcades was they were in direct competition. There was the Busy Bee compartment store across the street, and they had this huge arcade up on the second floor. I remember because I used to go there constantly to play Aliens. That was the one by Konami, the side scroller. And
I
yeah,
love that fucking game.
Good
well,
game.
I used to actually, that was what I used to do when I was a kid, because I was terrified to go anywhere because I thought I was going to get killed. So I used to go to the arcades and I used to play competitively. And
Nice.
yeah, well, then when they started cracking down on all the arcades, that's when I started getting more into like DJing and weightlifting because, again, I wanted to do things that was going to keep me away from the crowd.
Yeah.
Just because of how it was really dangerous when I was a kid. You got to remember, Dinkins was the mayor over in Manhattan, and it was like the Wild West over here. So yeah, but they had all those arcades in the one mall because all of the all of the games, like they didn't have the same games in each arcade. They had all these different games, and this is right when you started getting games over here like Dance Dance Revolution, and you start getting all these Japanese games that were coming overseas. And this was like the era when they first started having simulators, like Afterburner, when you would sit there and fly the plane.
Oh, Afterburner was bullshit.
Yeah. And what happened was because of all the stipulations that like cities like mine came up with, Philadelphia followed suit and Boston and the whole East Coast, one of the ways that they did to crack down during the war on drugs was to get rid of all of the little arcades. Now, this actually what this did was like places like Chuck E. Cheese, they started filling up with people like me, and they did not want people like me there because they wanted it for their kids. So that actually is what gave rise to places like Jillian's and Dave and Buster's.
And it gave rise to things like Chuck E. Cheese having a no adults in there without a child.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, all those stipulations had to come into place. Yeah.
They don't let you. You have to go borrow someone's child to go into Chuck E. Cheese to play video games now.
Yeah.
And that's not the reason we have a kid. Well,
yeah, that's really dumb. I mean, hell, even I tried to go into a few Dave and Buster's, but each time I tried to go into it, it was either too goddamn expensive to get in, or they had to close it down because of a fucking bar fight. Are you fucking kidding me? I was like, well,
dude, you live in a place where people have where a large portion of your population has self-control issues.
Yeah.
I know, but bar fights are so common. It's like, just throw him out the back fucking door. Just have security manhandle the pair of them, hit him in the balls a few times, and throw him out the door. Yeah. That's all they had to do, but they made this big...
I love it. I love it whenever you see a video or a story about a fight that broke out at a McDonald's or a KFC or a fucking Chuck E. Cheese, and it's like, fight in so-and-so over overcooked fries. And it's like, what else could it be over? Like, what important shit is going down at a fucking fast food restaurant? It's like surprising that, oh my gosh, they're fighting over the milkshake. It's like, yeah, well, what the fuck else would it be?
Well, did you see the video that actually they showed in Chicago? And I was like, wow, that's, and I hate saying it, but
which one? I gotta hear this shit.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I watched it. I'm like, holy shit, that's probably one of the most gangster things I've ever seen. I'm like, it's dumb as fuck, but at the same time, like, I'll give them props. I'm like, all right, that's gangster. The cops had to friggin', they were taping off the crime scene, and a couple of guys got into a gunfight at the crime scene. Fucking cops are taping it off, and they got into a fucking fight.
That surprised me.
It surprised the shit out of me. I watched that. I'm like, holy shit.
That's not something you ever hear. Like, hey, guys, come on, calm down. This is a crime scene. Come on. This isn't the place.
I don't give a shit.
But here's the thing. I mean, here's the thing. You've got this area where people like New York and Chicago where you basically have no one actually wants to live there anymore. They all want to move out to the burbs, and there's massive self-control problems because honestly, I'm going to say because you have massive social welfare problems.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, we got massive welfare problems here, man. Everybody's living off the fucking Section 8 and all that crack baby shit.
Well, I'll be the
Yeah.
first one to say it's due to all the transient traffic that comes in and out. I mean, no one that causes any of that trouble is anyone that's lived here for over a decade. You know, actually, let me take that back. No one that's lived here for over 20 years, because you have a lot of people that have been here for the past 10 years. But after
Yeah.
they're here for like 6 months, they get themselves a nice studio apartment. They get the state to pay the Section 8. Next thing you know, they're gone. They're never here.
No.
They come back. They fly by night. They stay in New York when they want to. You get
The
a lot of
really-
people like that.
The really fucked up thing is just the way that, like, I have no problem with helping people, right? I think it's a good thing, right, to try to help people who need help. But that's rarely what these fucking programs actually do.
Yeah, they make you.
And I'll go as far as to say that most of the time that's not even what they're for. They're
Nope.
just a fucking advertisement to get somebody elected so they can say they can keep living that cush fucking public service life. They don't give a fuck about anybody, but they know that that kind of bullshit sells really well. It's really easy to campaign on compassion.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it gets people
Fake
elected.
compassion. Fake
And that's
compassion. Because they don't care. They, in all honesty, they do
Well,
not.
people
give
want to
a
feel
shit.
like they're doing something good, right? They want to feel like they're like just with their vote that they're making the world a better place. I mean, I think it's safe to say that people can honestly act out of that sense of duty or whatever. That's I don't think that's useful to really question that too much. But I think that's the problem, is that smart politicians know that all they're going to do is come out as a bleeding heart, and they're going to get a lot of females to vote for them, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people who want to fucking police females. I mean, of course, it's not 100%, but that's a huge, huge part of it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it's just a virtue signaling in general. And, you know, you're going to have a lot of people, like you said, they're an easy sell. And I think George Carlin summed it up best. And when he said this, you know, it was like one of those holy shit moments, like he's right and you don't even realize it till he said it. He goes like this: okay, I want to break down a scenario for you. He said you have candidate A and candidate B, and they're running for office. And they put out a bill that candidate A is voting on. And now the bill has all of this different stuff attached to it that they attach at the last minute, all this pork and whatever. So candidate A decides to vote against it. Now, one of the things that's attached to this bill is something that's a stipulation for research for breast cancer. And so candidate B's people put spin on it and put out a thing, an advertisement that says that candidate A is actually for breast cancer, and people vote against candidate A under the auspice that this guy is actually pro breast cancer.
Yeah.
Yep, people are that dumb.
Yeah.
Well, you know, here's the thing: is that people definitely can be dumb, but I think the point is that, and this has become more apparent as social media and just the internet in general has made it easier to get information. It's that they think we're that stupid. It's not that they're stupid or that Americans are necessarily stupid. It's that they think we're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not intellectually stupid. We're just all irrational to a certain degree, depending on what's going on in your life. And the chemicals that cause your emotions to go up, they also diminish rational thought. That the two things are mutually exclusive as far as the chemicals in the brain are concerned. And that phenomenon it's really easy to play upon that. If you're good, if you're charismatic especially, and if you're manipulative and you're a fucking sociopath, it's very easy to manipulate otherwise intellectual, smart people into doing stupid shit because they're just not in a rational consciousness at that moment.
Yep.
And the only thing you can do to try to mitigate that in your own life, you can only do it for your own life, right? First of all, you can't legislate that shit. Is to try to recognize when those moments happen and just try to do better. Just to be aware of it is mostly all you can do. You know what I mean? And so you're never going to always be rational. You know, it's just not how we're wired. It takes a lot of practice to. Rational thinking is a skill like anything, and it takes practice. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and the less you do it, the less prone you are to that type of behavior. I mean, it's funny how we don't really, our language doesn't really, you know, our discussions or whatever don't really ever call attention to that. It's like we think that there's just things that people are just inherently born with, like, but most of what we do is learned. It's trained into us. You know, there's obviously instinctual things that are common to everyone, but just thinking rationally more often than the average person is something you have to work at, and it's a skill you can build. You know, and if you're not trained, if you're not given any opportunity to use your rational mind more, or to be aware of the fact that you're just going to be prone to being irrational, you're going to grow up and never have learned that skill and vote Democrat.
Yep, because democracy, oh good, because it give me free gifts and I freedom.
Somehow though,
and we live in a democracy. No, we don't, you stupid fuck.
Not really. We live in a constitutional republic.
I realized, Sunrise, that whole long thing was actually just a really, really good veiled NPC joke.
Yeah, I tend to do that. I use more words than I need to.
I mean, the solution. I mean, the only people that innately think rationally have pointed ears and green blood. So you know
exactly.
Right.
I mean, you know what? And that's the funny thing. Like, especially about like I keep going back to the Brett Kavanaugh thing because it's important. Like, regardless of how you feel about the man, like whether like politically or not, the fact that they tried to do what they tried to, the Democrats tried to do what they tried to do, means that you have to confirm the guy just so that fucking due process or that idea of innocent until proven guilty can be preserved in some way. Like it would have been a defeat to due process for them to not confirm Brett Kavanaugh.
What in the holy horse fuck half acre was Jordan Peterson thinking when he said if he's confirmed, he should resign?
Yeah. I mean,
no,
that's the thing. That's the thing about principles is it's really interesting how unpredictable it is for people to drop their principles when shit gets hard. And the fucked up thing is that principles really only matter when it's hard. Like that's the whole fucking point of them. So that when you're being irrational, you've got something to fall back on and go, that's right. This is what I believe. I have to do this, even though it doesn't feel, it's not as intuitive. You know, I have to kind of go against how I feel right now because this principle I have tells me, no, that's wrong. That's why you have it. And it's funny to see how quickly people drop their fucking principles when shit gets hard.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that a lot of people, you know, forget, and I'm actually glad that they're confirming all of these people, you know, these different judges that have been picked from by Trump so far.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people they say to me like, they're like, well, I thought, you know, aren't you progressive? And I go, yeah. They're like, well, why would you? Well, one, why would you vote for Trump? And two, why would you, you know, be happy with the Supreme Court judges he picks? And I tell people all the time. I say, well, I'm happy with it because, you know, we're not even addressing the thing with Trump right now. That'll go off too long. But the thing with the judges, you see, you can't. And I tell people this all the time. Progressive should not be a political viewpoint. I try to stress this to people constantly.
An ideology.
Yes. And when I tell people, I say, you know, well, I tell people I'm progressive, liberal, conservative, specifically because I'm a Trump supporter, because I would like to, you know, stress that fact that just because I look at the same things that these left-wing lunatics do doesn't mean I come to the same conclusions that they do. That's where I differ from them.
Yeah,
And
I've heard that argument a lot from all kinds of different people who
yeah,
say that, you know, we should support these people anyway because they're mostly right. And even if you don't agree with all their stuff, you should still vote for them because they believe in you know, they're compassionate, they care about other people, and that's what's important. And yeah, it's like what so I should stop using my brain because they're on that side? Like what do you mean? Like you're literally telling me not to think and just vote for one side because they're compassionate? Like, sorry. I'm a little more skeptical than that.
well, yeah,
Mhm.
one of the things I will always avoid, like the plague, is I like this is the thing. You see, when people try like hanging liberal and conservative on these different judges, that's what makes me like, it makes the bells go off. I always look at these people's records myself,
Yeah.
and when they say somebody is a progressive judge, that's something that I will avoid like the plague, because you see, that means to me radical decisions, because history books.
Right.
So I'm not going to vote for somebody like that, if I have the power to vote for them, just because somebody like that is going to be a rainmaker just because they want to get their name into the history books. I'm not interested in that. We're not altering history because you decide you want to prove you got a big dick. I'm not interested in that shit. You know,
Mhm.
like that's part of the reasons you vote for people like Kavanaugh, because you want somebody who, they're going to do this because they believe in the letter of the law.
Right.
And at this point specifically, I'm going to avoid a liberal because they're going to try to be so opposite of the conservatives. That's part of the reason that the liberals got into bed.
They've shown their true colors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's part
Well,
of the reason that they were getting into
well,
bed with the
this one.
progressives to begin with.
The left has proven what they really believe in, and which is nothing. And
Yeah.
they don't even have any ideas. Even if they fucking, you know, like that was one of the things. Like I remember the Occupy Wall Street thing. Remember all that? Like when it first started, a lot of people,
Yeah.
including myself, were like,
Occupy
"Yeah, this
was
is a good thing. Like this is a good movement. Like it's happening all over the country. This could actually change some shit." But then when you actually went down there and to ask the people, why are you here? What is this about? What's your goal? And not a single one of those fuckers had an answer. And that's when I really started to take notice of the left, like seemingly like, wait a minute, what's happening? Are we losing the center? It's like, no, it was
And,
never there in the first place.
and wasn't Occupy Wall Street the beginning of the progressive stack,
It kind of
Yeah,
was, yeah.
where
technically,
like white
yeah.
people had to wait in line to talk because oppressed minorities got to talk
It,
first and
it,
shit
it
like
really
that?
was. But when I first heard about it on Twitter, it seemed like more of just kind of a progressive movement to try to get, you know, a little bit more fairness in the just economic stuff and just things along those lines that kind of made sense when on paper. But like I said, when you actually got down there and see all the people down there and you try to ask them why they're there was a bunch of different things and none of them had any fucking real clue or real new ideas or solutions or anything. It
Yeah,
was
that
just
was
capitalism bad, let's destroy capitalism. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, that's not what I signed up
Yeah.
for.
yeah,
yeah, that's regrettably what it evolved into. Because it was
Quickly.
it started off as a good idea, but then as Occupy got larger and it got more people in, it crashed in on
I
itself.
wouldn't even say it started as a good idea. It started as
Because
bad.
it
It
was a
started as the
response to the
habit.
2008 recession and the
Yeah.
bailouts, right? Which I disagreed
Yeah.
with. I think those companies should have been left to die and the consequences be
Yeah.
damned. Would deal with. We'll pick up the pieces afterwards, right?
Pretty
And so when
much,
that happened, there was a lot of pissed off people, including myself, and I think that's what sparked the movement. And I
Yeah.
was, like I said, I was on board at the very beginning until the
Mhm.
actual protests started happening, and it turned out to be just a bunch of fucking lazy assholes who just
yeah.
want free shit.
Yeah,
went
that's when Anonymous decided they weren't going to help them at all because they were like, okay, I know we're a bunch of lazy fuckers that do a lot of this all day. Even we're not this dumb.
Well,
They just
I mean, Anonymous was kind of a joke
lot.
anyway, but that's just my opinion on all hacktivist groups.
Yeah, activism these days it seems to be more about like clever hashtags than anything. And then what you try to do is you hashtag your way into change, and then when that change doesn't happen, you just go out and break some windows and scream into the sky and maybe beat up a couple of white people.
Yeah, regrettably, that's the problem with it, is that the people doing the shit are fucking stupid bastards. They're stupid. They're dumb. Their parents need to beat them and discipline them, but nobody does that.
Back back in the 90s, back in the late 90s when I was in college, and I was actually one of those idiots that would go around with the clipboard and, ask you if you wanted to campaign, if you wanted to vote for Gore for president. And I actually, this is back when I used to work for the EPA. When I would go door to door and ask you to give a donation to the EPA to help to prevent global warming and climate change.
Yep.
This is before I went to Woodstock '99. So yeah, it was.
Mud bowl.
Yeah, believe me, I was very. I don't want to say I was a lefty. I was never a joiner. It was just because I came from a military family, and I was under the impression that I was just at one of those events, and I was surrounded by a lot of deadbeats and gold bricks that just happened to be in places where musicians were. And that's really how I looked at it. I was there to see a band, and you're going to get a lot of shit heels there. But there were a lot of veterans, too. So I didn't feel too uncomfortable, But I lived on a hippie commune back in '99, and that was a really interesting experience. And I tell people all the time, look, I personally, I could never be like my definition of right wing as a New Yorker. Like I always had, to me, it was always,
it's hard for me too. Believe me.
Guns, NASCAR, Jesus. That's basically that was the big three. And it was never anything I was too severely into. Nothing against guns. It was just I didn't have the money for them, so I just never really got into them because everything costs money.
I grew up with guns. My dad is big into guns, so like every year we go camping and fire a couple thousand rounds into the side of the mountain and shit. And so I'm very educated on guns and everything, and I'm really familiar with like I could at least have the conversation, with people who don't. You see, so many people have no idea what semi-automatic means. They don't know what AR stands for. There's just all these fucking ignorant points that every person who's ever argued against guns fucking doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And I never felt the need to own one, mostly because I spent a lot of my life around musicians and kind of people coming and going. So I always felt maybe not necessarily a great idea to have a gun, just because you never fucking know with weird people. But these days, dude, I'm like pretty much convinced that I probably should be in the market for one at this point, because they're going to get probably harder and harder to get.
Yeah.
And you know what it was that really turned me around on guns, because I used to kind of argue for more gun control, more regulations and stuff. I had a bit more of a realistic perspective on it, but I was still kind of for something. Now I'm for no, fucking start deregulating it, because it was the CDC report on the number of potential fatalities that a presence of a gun prevented. And there's no exact number, right? And it's obviously you have to extrapolate and estimate to a certain degree. But the truth is, there's definitely a number there of people who would otherwise have been hurt or killed, but they had a gun, and so nothing happened, right?
And the CDC low estimate is what, about 3 million annually, right?
Which is a lot. That's a bigger number than any annual number when you're talking about mortality rates. That's a huge fucking number. It's even if it's a quarter of that, it's still very significant. So that's I don't know, man. That's, for me, that's hard to argue against. Like, guns apparently by the numbers save more lives than they take.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, also you got to keep in mind that 30,000 annual gun deaths number, that includes about 20,000 suicides, right? Which is pretty disingenuous, because people who would kill themselves are likely going to find a way with or without a firearm.
This is the people that you don't hear from, right? The people who don't fucking tell everybody that they're going to kill themselves, because people who do that usually don't.
Yeah,
it's
so
people you always hear it. They didn't see it coming. We had no idea. He didn't seem like he was, didn't seem like he was sad or anything. It's like, We clearly have deeper issues than just the number of guns that exist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you never hear liberals talk about. Sometimes they pay lip service to like mental health, you know, when they throw in their arguments for taking away guns, they throw in there, oh, we have a mental health issue and that contributes to it. But, you know, fucking a bunch of stinky butts flying in your face. And it's like, no, you're really arguing for taking away people's
Some people
guns.
like that.
I
Yeah.
used to argue that too. Oh, no liberals are trying to take away your guns, but they're not even trying to hide that shit anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the thing of it was always with me, like, I'm one of those people where, and this is one of the things, like, I would get into arguments with people constantly about this. Like, when they would say to me, like, gun control in New York, you see, I'm fortunate because where I live is an island. So when I talk about gun control here, you know, I can literally say once you get past the bridge or the tunnel, you know, when you get back onto the mainland US, the rules are completely different. And I do mean that. Once you get out of here and you're back in the continental US, the rules are different. But here, like, I'm
But
for
for you, gun control means a nice tight grouping.
it does, but I'm for strict regulation here, but it's only because we looked on the Wikipedia article.
Yeah.
We have 6,000 people per square mile where I live. It's the most crowded part of the United States. So
Wow.
I'm for regulation because we're an island and there's so many entry ports here. So I'm for
Sounds
all
like
of
a
that.
nightmare.
It is. It
Sorry.
really is. Logistics wise, it's a nightmare. And I point that out to people constantly when I say, you know, I'm for gun
And,
control where I live.
I'm going to say right now that the only gun control that there should ever exist is hitting your fucking target. It's not the
That was the
government.
joke I was
It's not the
trying to-
government's job to regulate. It's a right. It's an absolute right.
It
Doesn't
is.
matter whether you live in New York, California, Texas,
That's the other thing.
Wyoming.
People
You should be
people
able to
don't know what
mail
the fuck a
order.
right is anymore. They don't understand the difference between
Yeah.
a privilege and a right. Like voting is not a right. There's no such thing as the right to vote. It's a privilege. Like it could be taken away, right? Rights can't. The Constitution doesn't grant us rights. It protects them. They exist because you exist. That's what a right is.
Well, that's my
I'm
whole
to
point.
the
Is
point-
I
have a
just
right
want
to
I am
bear
to the
arms.
point where we should still be able to mail order fucking machine guns.
Well, that's what I'm getting at is I just want to make sure that the person who's receiving the gun actually is the person who is a constitutional United States citizen and that's where they reside. That's as far as the regulation I want. I just want
Well, that's inherent to the just citizenship covers that, right? That's
right.
where the
Well,
Constitution starts. It doesn't say anything about if you're not a citizen. Like that's
that's as far as like
beside
when
the
I
point.
say things like gun regulation, like things of that nature. I'm specifically talking about I want to make sure like the background checks that we have here are fast and efficient. I want to make sure people are armed. I'm for full constitutional carry, which means open and concealed. I'm for all of this, but this is the thing. I want to make sure that it's the right person that has the gun. I want to make sure that it's somebody when they say violent offender, I mean within fucking reason. Like if this guy went and drove through the front of a store, grabbed the cashier and beat the shit out of him because of X, Y, and Z, then yeah, maybe him I don't want to have a piece. But if somebody got into a fight with their brother-in-law because of like the girl that they were dating, you know what? He can still maybe go apply for peace. I don't think that we should be sitting there getting into their pots and pans. You know, that's not a violent offender. That's life. That's called humanity. We tend to mix it up every once in a while. You know, we shouldn't be punishing people because, you know, they get a little bit cross and cousin Jeb said the wrong thing, so they decide to hit him with a fucking pan. No, that shit does go down. But that's the thing. I want to just make sure that it's not somebody who's not supposed to have the piece on them. Otherwise, if my thing is this, a micro Uzi is a great conceal and carry, especially if you got one of those 150 round double drum things on it. You know, that is definitely to me, like, that's what I'm saying. I want to make sure that you can have one of those things fully auto with a laser thing on it, as long as you're the person that owns that gun and is properly, you know, we screened you like, oh, okay, sure, he's not some kitty diddler. He's not somebody that's going to go shoot up a bank. Yeah, he can carry that because I can't wait till somebody comes up to him and goes, yo, let me see, give me your wallet. You know, I'm all for that. Especially by me, I'm saying they have to have it tight. Like if you live somewhere like in the Dakotas or Montana where there's like, 50 people for like every 1,000 miles or whatever, then yeah, you can have a howitzer. I don't care. You can pick the thing up with like the same day. But if you try to leave the state and sell that thing, I want them to throw the book at you something fierce. That's the thing. That's the gun laws I'm for. I want it to be where you have to really go through hoops to go out of state, to sell these things out of state. Rather, like if you got your gun, I want it to be where you can carry it anywhere within the continental United States. That's what I'd really like it to be. But if you're going to buy a certain gun, you can't sell it out of your state. I want to make it where you can't even sell it out of your county if that's your county's thing. I want it to be where it's a states' rights thing.
Well, I mean, this is the thing.
Yeah.
I disagree with, because quite frankly, I want to be able to order guns online, so I don't have to go into a physical brick and mortar store, so I can avoid a fucking sales tax because I'm buying it.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a whole different thing. Yeah, I wasn't even I'm sorry, I didn't even think of online. We're talking like like laws, and I keep forgetting to bring online into it. Thank you for pointing that out. Online is a whole different thing. Well, when we're talking brick and mortar, then let's talk specifically about, the laws applying to brick and mortar stores, and let's like lay it all on brass tacks. And I say this all the time: you should have different laws for the internet because it's obvious that they're operating in a different way. So you can't really.
It's not like under current laws. It's not like you can order a gun online and it gets sent to your house. Not unless you have a federal firearms license. And that's just, that's just the way it is. People, I've heard liberals say, well, you go online, it's a it's a loophole. And it's like, no, it's not a loophole. There aren't loopholes. The loopholes are a myth. I mean, the whole, well, you can go to a gun show and buy it without having a background check. Bullshit. You buy it from a federal firearms dealer, there is a background check. Do I think that, and you know what? I've been delayed, and I have nothing on my record. It's just every so often I would get delayed. Shit happens. And then 3 days later, when they don't say deny, then I come back and pick up the damn gun. But it's, it's happened when I bought two guns from two dealers from one FFL in a day. I got told proceed. This before I had a CHL. Proceed on the first one and delay on the second one. So,
and I don't see any cause for that, and that's something I have a problem with. And one of the other things is, I am all for actually them. I'm all for you being able to buy a gun, a rifle, XYZ off of the internet. If you have gone and applied with your state or local wherever, and you've gotten cleared and everything's gone through. Again, if your state doesn't require that you have any of those background checks, then you should be able to buy it. But that's the thing. Here in my state, we require it, and so as long as all of the checks are done quickly, I should be able to order myself a nice old-fashioned belt-fed M60 if I want one. I shouldn't have to go through any bullshit if I've cleared everything to prove that I'm Scooby, I reside where I do, I'm, who I say I am, I have no criminal record, I pay all my taxes, and, everything, if everything lines up, there should be no problem. And I'm one of those people when they say, well, you shouldn't, fully automatic has to be illegal. Okay, why? Why can I not have a fully automatic rifle? If you want to put certain ordinances in, like if a certain town wants to have it where you can't walk around with an AR-15 because, I don't know,
let's not beat around the bush. The AR-15 is not fully automatic.
Mm-hmm.
It's semi. It only, every time you pull the trigger, it only fires one bullet.
Okay, so let's use the M16 as an example. I'm just so used to saying an AR, from the civilian model. A fully automatic M16. Like if they want to have it where there's a certain ordinance in a certain place, like there are certain places I remember in the United States. You might be familiar with this. They actually wanted where certain vehicles were banned. And I believe that actually commercial vehicles are banned in certain streets in my neighborhood. So, again, I can understand certain laws if you want to regulate it where certain guns are banned in certain towns and in certain areas and whatnot.
That's the key there. Like
that's the key. Now that's where it comes down to.
certain
Now,
towns, right? Like if obviously there's gonna be places that might need to keep a closer eye on the guns than others. That should be up to the fucking police department and the city council or whoever.
And I disagree because I believe it's such an absolute and so important. And I believe the police, when they leave, they should be scared. They are not getting paid more than they actually should to do a job that is not. There's a reason they're issued body armor.
I know. I'm just saying you don't want like the gangs to be better armed than the cops and be able to actually form a fucking army in the middle of a city. I don't know. Maybe I'm being paranoid.
Here's the thing,
gentlemen.
I don't. Do something about the gangs and don't and go. We need.
I'll be back in a second. We're gonna go on a beer run real quick.
All right, be safe.
So yeah, we'll be back in a few. And Tara, here's that shot glass I promised you that I was talking about.
Give me a second.
Hey.
Nice.
Oh, found it at the Spencer's, man. We went for a drive and we found a place, and it was nice.
And I mean, I'm just gonna say that it's
Aww, thank you.
It's just to the point of you're gonna say, oh well, we need to do this way, and see that to me is the slippery slope we've already slid down since 1934. So, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean,
the point is, if the gangbangers are running around with AKs, then you up armor the cops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you take home defense and you basically say, hey, look, stand ground is the law of the land anywhere in the U.S. Guess what? The gangbangers are going to stop because they're going to die.
That's actually a really good point too.
Yeah.
The point is you have all these problems because you're relying on the police to solve the problems.
Yeah.
Police can't solve the problems. The police are there to solve the crime after the fact. The protect and serve is a fucking marketing scheme. I mean, this is.
Yeah, that's a strong argument, man. That really is.
And
I agree with it.
And this is the issue. I mean, we sit here, you're addressing it, but you're not really, because what you're doing is you're going, oh, I don't want to do this because if we do it, then if we don't do this, we're going to end up with blood in the streets, and they said that 25 years ago when concealed carry passed in Texas. Didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
They said that when open carry passed. They're like, oh no, they said campus carry. All of this is like it's bullshit. It is straight up and up bullshit, and that's all there is to it. The fact of the matter is crime drops when you have more armed people.
Oh, I know that. I'm fully aware of that. My point was, what I was getting at is, if like on a town-to-town basis.
But here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust the towns to follow the Constitution. The Constitution says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. What that means is the town has no right to say anything. The state has no right to say anything. They shouldn't even be able to license you to carry. That's fucking bullshit. Because in all honesty, here's the thing. Your license to carry is sitting in the National Archives. It's called the Second Amendment. And that is it. There should be no permits, no FOID cards, no nothing. And also this thing of, oh, you need to be 21 to buy a handgun. That needs to go too. That needs to be dropped.
That has to go. I agree. That has to go.
I mean, you could buy a 50 cal Barrett sniper rifle. Barrett rifle that fires the same round a Ma Deuce machine gun fires at 18 years of age. But you can't buy a Glock?
That's ridiculous.
Which one do you think is going to do more damage? I can shoot through cinder blocks, walls,
through
and
Jeeps,
buildings with a 50 cal.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the level.
It shoots through schools. Anybody remember that movie?
Mm-hmm. Well, the point I was getting at is if these people want to go and segregate themselves away in a community, like they've done already with these gated communities, and pay through the nose for their security, for their police, for their cameras, and make sure that the taxes are only specifically to that neighborhood. I have no problem with these people sequestering themselves away. My point I was getting at is, I'd rather they do it where the states regulate the power to town basis. So where I live in a town where people are more of a mindset like you, I can walk around festooned with bullets with a gun in each hand, and no one's going to say anything. It said, "Hey, Scoob, good morning. How are you?" That's my whole point.
That's the thing, though. I don't care about the people that don't want to own guns, because they are basically trying to shit on my rights, and I'm telling them, no, you don't get to do that anymore. What needs to happen is, you don't like it, Canada's to the north, Mexico is to the south. You want really strict gun control? Go to Mexico. There's only one gun store in the whole country where someone can legally buy a gun. By the way, the murder rate's higher in Mexico.
Yeah.
England's across the pond. You don't like it, leave the United States.
Yeah. Yeah, people have used that argument. Well, the UK doesn't have guns. It's like they never really had guns.
They also have apparently
not
now,
apples to apples comparing the United States to the UK.
No, but apparently London also has a higher murder and violence rate than New York right now.
Well, yeah, that's a whole different thing. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, if everybody had guns, maybe it would be a little different.
Well, I personally, where I live, I want them to arm the shit out of everybody. I want the little old lady who lives around the corner to have a friggin' bazooka if necessary. I mean, I'm all for arming it, but that's what I'm saying. You have these fucking pansies who want to sit there and hem and haw that they are afraid of everything that's, north of a fucking Swiss Army knife.
But they're also supposedly the most educated people in this country. So guess what? I'd like to point out that Canada's to the north. They all seem to want to live in Canada. Unfortunately, they'll find immigrating to Canada is harder than, I'm scared of Trump and firearms, I need to live here. Immigrating
you got to bring something to the fucking table to move to Canada.
Or you have to be a Syrian Muslim.
Having a debate.
Right, or be a,
but and then they're like, well, I want to move to Canada. Well, you know what? You're not going to be able to move to Canada. I mean, Canada even kicks its actors out. I heard they don't even want Justin Bieber back.
No returns on damaged goods. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's fucking bullshit. Can't we just kill him? I don't really mean that.
Well, no, we're going to send Canada Nickelback as revenge.
Yeah, we don't mind them so much, to be honest.
And so we go, and then they're like, but no, you never see they want to go move to Mexico. They never want to move to Mexico. They always want to move to fucking Canada. It's like, okay, but it's far easier for you to immigrate to Mexico than it is for you to immigrate to Canada.
Yeah.
Not to mention Mexico is a gun-free zone. So move to Mexico.
Isn't it funny how so many more gun deaths seem to happen in gun-free zones? It's
Oh, yeah.
almost like the criminals don't obey the law and they take advantage of that,
Yeah.
knowing that no one's going to be armed there or law-abiding citizens. Interesting how that works.
Well, that's part of the reason I'm for them doing this with the communities, because if there's a community like miles away from where I live, where everyone is known to be unarmed, and where I live, everyone's known to be strapped, I know where the criminals are not going to be going. They're not going to be coming to my neighborhood.
Yep.
Like, if these assholes really want to sit there and pay through the wazoo and paint a big glow-in-the-dark bullseye on themselves, that's why I'm all for it. You know, I completely understand what Nano's saying, but at this point, we got these screwball bastards here. I'm really for letting them self-sequester themselves away. And, like, if it gets...
The only problem is, Scooby, if you don't take my approach, New York would still be fucking a gun-free zone. So... And it's in everyone's best interest to be like, no, you can't do that as a municipality. Like, look at Washington, D.C. If you don't have a gun license in Washington, D.C., and you have a spent cartridge in your vehicle, you can go to prison.
Oh, yeah. That's we have that law here, too. That's
ridiculous. That's why these politicians need to be dragged out into the street and shot through the back of the head, because this is the correction for liberalism.
Extreme.
It's execution. Well, no, it's not. It's the only way to fix the problem at this point. It's so ingrained to the city societies to be disarmed and a victim that really the best way to fight it is with violent revolution.
If you have a gun, Irv, check this out. If you come into New York, even though the I forget what their initials are. Nano, help me out. The guys who regulate flying, what is it? The FSA? FAA. Thank you. If you're the FAA, if you're coming into New York, the FAA says you can travel with a gun if you take these certain procedures, and they give you a step-by-step thing. This is every airport in America follows these guidelines, except for the airports in New York. No matter what you do, if you fly into New York and you have a gun, you're a criminal. They've said this on air. John Stossel interviewed them. They said, no, it doesn't matter. We don't care what the FAA says. We don't abide by their guidelines. We have our own. And in New York, it is illegal to have a gun and to fly into New York. Even if it's a legal gun, it's still illegal in New York.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which violates the Federal Safe Transit Act.
Yeah.
And New York's not the only one that's bad about that. If you have a gun in the trunk of your car that's not loaded and is secured, it doesn't matter if that gun is illegal in New York. If you were not a New York resident or a New Jersey resident, because this is where it happened, and you were driving through to a state where it is legal, it actually doesn't matter what your destination is. If you were driving through, it's called the Safe Transit Act, and you were stopped, New York will violate federal law and arrest you.
Yeah, you have to have the firing pin separate from the rest of the gun. The gun has to be completely separate in different pieces. It has to be in separate pieces in the trunk, and the firing pin has to be in the glove compartment.
It has to be in two separate lock boxes, so to speak.
No, all of the pieces of the gun have to be in separate lock boxes. And right, the ammunition actually, if I'm not mistaken, the ammo, you shouldn't actually even have ammo in the car if you have any sense in your head. Believe it or not, most people when they do transport, they will actually transport. Like if they're taking two vehicles anyway, somebody else will be like, "Yo, let me get the bullets." Like, just to be safe. But no, you have to have the firing pin separate. It has to be in a separate part of the car. The firing pin has to be in
violation of federal law. Federal law for the Safe Transit Act says it just simply has to be locked up, secured, with the magazine removed.
Yeah. Well, believe me, as somebody who has driven in a car with people who the guy's like, I got to transport my gun, and immediately the firing pin goes in the glove compartment in a locked small box that holds the firing pin. The gun is broken down into all of its components, and they're also put in separate locked containers in the trunk. That's just how it's done.
That's actually stricter than Canada.
Yeah.
No, that is the very definition of a police state right there.
Yeah.
Then that is why I have zero sympathy for the NYPD because they are complicit in enforcing a Nazi-esque police state.
If you're driving and you get pulled over and you're transporting a gun, the first thing that you have to do is, you're supposed to do this anyway in New York State. You're supposed to come to a complete full stop, put on your four-way flashes, shut the car off, and you're supposed to actually leave the key in the ignition in case the officer asks you to move the car. Otherwise, the officer may actually ask you to remove the key. You don't have to hand the key to him, but he might actually want you to. I haven't heard of that too often, but it just depends, because if you're a flight risk, they'd rather you have the key on your lap. I have heard of instances of that. You have to keep your hands on the steering wheel at all time, face forward, unless the officer asks you to address them and make eye contact. We think, what are some of the other stipulations when you get pulled over? There's like a whole list of things you have to do.
It is a straight up police state. It is a straight up. It's something that needs to be addressed. It's obviously not being addressed on a local or state level, and so it needs to either be addressed with massive firings, like the federal government coming in and fixing it, which we all know the federal government isn't going to fix it. I mean, this is the thing. This right here is why I have zero respect for liberal areas, because it is the fact that this is the result.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, it's just the way it is. And I'm like, why are people okay with this?
Well, you know? I'll tell you why I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this because the problem is these morons have literally caused such a mess where I live. First, they started letting in all these different people from all over the place and not checking who's who and what's what. And so we got a whole bunch of like wild men coming in here from all over the place. And you know, so then okay, we're going to start cracking down on people with all the mental illnesses and everything. And then all of a sudden, that's out of vogue. So now, no, we can't crack down on these people with mental illnesses. That's no good. Let's turn them loose in the fucking streets. So they start turning the people loose in the streets, and they're like, oh, okay, they got shit wrong with them. Instead of putting them back in the asylums, let's start doing outpatient shit and giving them all this medication. Okay, the medication is good, but now they're doing even crazier shit. Let's just take away all the guns. And this is how the snowball effect works with New York. This is what the way that they handle things. So basically, the reason people like me are comfortable with them doing this police state shit is because they got these wild-eyed, drugged-up motherfuckers that these idiots won't lock up because it violates their rights as a human being to breathe the free air, because it's not their fault. God made them crazy, even though God doesn't exist. This is the circle jerk shit that you have to deal with when you talk to these people. This is one of the reasons I sound cynical as fuck. I'll tell you a scenario. This is the honest to God's truth. I've said this before. I'm not trying to dox the young man, because I honestly, you know, it's one of those things where people can look up the stipulations of this case. I mean, it's unique enough. But what had happened was this guy I know, his younger stepbrother, this poor guy is fucking crazy. And he was in Texas when they got him, but he was from New York originally, and he wound up driving through a couple of states. I think I'd mentioned this before, and he had his fiance and his fiance's mother and little brother, and he was, I think, either carving or branding Bible verses in these people. He was taking them, he had them in the trunk of the car, and he was going and staying in like all these different motel rooms each night and like branding them with Bible verses. Like really this fucked up, horrible shit. And so his stepbrother's telling me this, and I'm like, I just seen him at 7-Eleven yesterday. He's like, oh, you did you? He's like, yeah, let me tell you. He was in Texas. They hit him with like 35 years, and for whatever reason, some technicality, he got extradited back up to New York. And I'm like, how the fuck is he walking the streets? He goes, oh, he's sick, don't you know? New York State decided that he's mentally ill. So he takes pills, and he's in a group that he has to go to once a week on an outpatient program. I go, you're fucking kidding me. He said, no, I'm goddamn dead serious. This is actually why this guy went and joined the Tea Party. And this guy's actually, he's a guitarist in a friggin' heavy metal band that I'm friends with. And, you know, this is the point of how crazy these fucking people are with this shit. And this is the reason people like me are for stop and frisk and are for them sticking a flashlight up your ass before you can even get a pea shooter. Because honestly, they've done so much crazy shit in the name of compassion and humanity, these virtue signaling fucking retards,
And
that
I
they've
don't,
ruined my home.
but I don't see restricting the rights of other people because of their past bad actions as a solution.
No, yeah.
It's not. It's a stopgap. What I'm looking for right now is for them to curtail the mental illness shit that they did first, start reining in these wild and woolly motherfuckers, and hopefully within like 2 years we can actually start relaxing some of this police state shit that we got going on. But when you
That
have
ain't gonna
somebody
happen.
walking, yeah, you're right. It's not going to happen because when you have some motherfucker walking around in galoshes and a sleeping bag, and he's allowed to get a job with that as an outfit, because they're like, oh, okay, you can't say anything to him because you're going to fucking hinder his creative juices. These fucking crazy people with this fucking new age hippie speak. Do you know what New York has turned into? It's turned into a community of Mr. fucking Cheadle from Grandma's Boy. Everyone's walking around like that. That's what I live amongst. I live amongst them, and I live amongst their fucking progeny. These people that they got walking the streets. It's these fucking animals and these uber hippies. This is like a leftist fucking dystopia if ever I seen it. Seriously, man.
I'm just thinking, if
Hmm.
you're not mentally well enough to be held responsible for your actions, I don't think you should be considered like responsible enough to take care of yourself as an outpatient. It doesn't make any sense. Right? If you can't be held responsible for criminal action reform, why would you be held responsible for your own well-being and your own taking how can you trust this person to take care of themselves and stay on their medication? It doesn't make any sense.
Irv, well, what you're doing right there, you're hindering personal growth. I'm being dead fucking serious. You got to realize they filmed The View here. These people really, yeah, think about that. Let that sink in for a minute. Fucking Schumer is my senator. They filmed The View here. Fucking Joy Behar was the English teacher at my high school. I mean, for God's sake, man. I'm not joking. These people really are this fucking bad.
The sense of horror in your voice, though. They
Yeah.
filmed The View here. You don't even know.
You've seen the meltdown on The View that these fucking people have had. I mean, you want to see Whoopi Goldberg fucking damn near have an aneurysm. Just say the word Trump.
Yeah. And she was such good friends with him before all this. That's the thing is,
Of course.
like,
Trump derangement syndrome is real.
It is. It is. And I see it every day. And I can't stand this shit anymore. But this is the thing. If I really have to live like in this fucking Orwellian nonsense until they can fucking, I'm hoping once we get rid of Cuomo, they will start curtailing this insane shit that they did with the medical. All of this has started in the past 10 years. And this is why when people tell me I'm tinfoil hat, I say go fuck your hand. Because seriously, the Democrats started doing this shit the minute that they got that fucking Smiling Jack bastard when they fucking put Obama in the office. That's my new nickname for him, Smiling Jack, the car salesman. That's who he is. I fucking can't stand him. But once they got him, and once they got that slick Dago up in Albany, they both got in at the same time. My state turned into a dystopian friggin' shitball nightmare.
Yeah.
Everyone talks California. That's only because your state gets bad press, bro. Seriously, my state.
That's all what I find very funny about the people who are like, well, you know what? Trump isn't even presidential. He's not. He's like just any person who would just like say whatever. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I think that might kind of be a good thing because like, what are you using as the baseline? George Washington? I mean, how many of the recent presidents have just kind of been like full of shit politicians?
Yeah.
Like that. If that's fucking presidential, I'd rather have just just somebody who will fucking talk plain.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he doesn't have a big vocabulary. He doesn't seem that educated in terms of like academically, but maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need a guy who will say, you know what? Fuck you. Like, I don't know. I have more respect for somebody like that than somebody who's going to fucking blow smoke up my ass so they can stay in office.
That's one of those things when people start like going on about how the president speaks and all this shit, and they ask me my opinion. I flat out say to them, well, haven't you been talking to me this whole time? You hear the way I talk. I grew up 20 minutes away from where he grew up. That's what you're dealing with. That's what you get when you have Trump up on stage. You think of it this way: you're dealing with an older version of me. That's basically the mentality you've got because he's thinking the same way I am.
Kinda.
Like I was watching the press conference he had today from Arizona. I was laughing my ass off. I showed my mother because, this reporter asks him because he's talking about, like putting up the wall. He's like, honestly, in my opinion, he's like, I think we should make it double what I was talking about last time. This thing has to be enormous. He's like, you got to
Yep.
see these people.
And
They come
how
over
many
with
fucking
grappling hooks.
politicians would have predictably tried to fucking backpedal on that? Oh no, try to equivocate and try to like please everybody. Trump's just like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
It was like,
And
fuck yeah.
the
More of
woman
that,
goes like this
please.
to him. She goes like this. She goes, how, what proof do you have that, because you're saying this about these people? And he's like, oh, don't be a big baby. Like in the press conference, he says this to the report. He's like, "Oh, look at all those injured Mexican soldiers. There's your proof."
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People are not used to the brashness. And
Nope.
I take it personal when people start talking about like how, oh, he talks bad and this and that. Because my thing is this: we all talk the way he talks around here, and a lot of us are not as refined as the president. That's one of the things I try to stress to people. Like when people are like, "Oh man, I don't like the way the president talks." Oh yeah, I tell you what, why don't you come down to the ball with me and go shoot a game of 9-ball? One night we'll go down there when Mikey Sneakers is there. Hear the shit that comes out of his mouth.
I think he brings an appropriate level of personality,
Yeah.
of realness over just like the same old bullshit, just like waffling back and forth, trying to say nothing and please everybody at the same time. And like Trump, you got to admit, sometimes he says some stupid shit. He's not always right. And you know what? He does not. He wouldn't have been my first fucking choice. You know what I mean? Like I would never have predicted a guy like that. No one could have really imagined Trump as the president, just because he seems more like a regular guy, or just kind of maybe even a rich prick. Than,
exactly, he's a blue collar billionaire,
some highfalutin, highly educated, politician type.
Yeah,
and it's like, fuck, maybe that's what we need. I don't know. I also kind of think the office of the president is kind of a sham in the first place. I think that, the people that do the most of the work are his staff, the cabinet, the people actually running around making shit happen. How much of that could get done without one guy in charge?
I don't know, because
I say most of it, probably.
He seems to be a hell of a taskmaster.
But I think Trump has proven that, maybe, somebody with a drive and a direction and a sense of purpose, whether you agree with it or not, maybe that's what we need, instead of just a guy who's just presidential, who could say the right things and smile just right and make everybody love him.
I mean, I'm to the point of just not giving a shit about the.
Well, that's the right mindset.
About, okay, is he presidential? Does it get shit done?
Right.
That's what I care about.
Yeah, I care about that more too. My mind has definitely changed on Trump. I'm probably, unless some crazy shit happens in the next year and a half, I'm probably going to vote for him in 2020.
Yeah. Well,
I also wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't run, but I'm sure he probably will. I bet money on it.
It's funny. He was the only candidate that was actually talking about the things that I was interested in, like China. I mean, like I've said before to people, I'm an environmentalist from back in the day. If you knew how much shit is wrong with China's environment due to them taking our industry over there and not having our regulatory codes. China has like 9 rivers. 8 of them, 95% of the fish are extinct in the wild, just from the pollution. They have whole villages, thousands of people who die from cancer just from all the shit in the air and the water. I could sit here and go on and on for days. The human rights violations, the health code violations, the environmental impact, all that shit. So when the man was talking about China, I'm like, hell yeah, I was going to vote for him anyway. Just because my whole neighborhood works for the Trump organization, has since as far back as I can remember. We're all of his like plumbers. It's funny if you watch the Fight Club speech that what the fuck is his name? Tyler gives in the bathroom to the guy. You know, we're the people who protect you when you sleep. All this shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically everything he lists, except for the cop part, is like everyone in my neighborhood, like with the Trump organization. It's his welders, his plumbers, his carpenters, the guys who do his carpet, the guys who do like his his framing, everything. They're all here, all of his electricians. And so I showed this video, I think Irv's seen it, where in my neighborhood during election weekend, they just decided, fuck it, they had a parade. They didn't get any permits, they didn't contact anybody, they just had a parade in the middle of the neighborhood. I showed you that video, right, Irv?
I don't think I saw it, no.
Oh, I gotta show that to you then, brother. But yeah, it's the whole town. And so, like, for us, when, like, people were talking to me on the internet when he first ran, and they're like, oh, what, you voted for him because of The Apprentice? I'm like, I never seen one episode of that show. You know, when it first came on, we watched, like, the first 5-10 minutes, like, all right, this is boring, and then, like, we went and did something else. You know, that was the extent of my experience with The Apprentice. I don't know nothing he's really done on the TV. You know, he's done a few TV show appearances and a few movie appearances. That's as far as I knew about the man's career. Excuse me. I knew about him from all the shit he did around the neighborhood. You know, he was putting up buildings in Manhattan. He was putting up all sorts of things in Queens. He was putting stuff up out on Long Island. So, you know, my father poured most of the foundations for most of his buildings, and my sister's husband, he's Jordanian, by the way. Which Trump's racist. Really, my sister's Arab husband is the one that's you know, goes and does all of his flooring. He's an Arab, but yeah, the man's racist. And but whatever, you know. So I always had the opinion. I was of the opinion of he was a good man. He did good business. We never heard any complaints of him being a scoundrel or a scumbag. So when all this crazy shit was going on and people were asking me about it, I was like, okay. I don't believe a word of it, and I still don't believe a word of it. I think he's a good man, and if people don't like what he says, I agree with what Nano said. Look at his actions. Who gives a flying fuck what he says? And people don't like what's going on with Twitter.
Change
who
the
gives a
fucking
fuck?
channel.
Yes, seriously, it's Twitter. Who gives a fuck? Twitter is cancer. Everyone knows that.
Hey,
We
you
need
know
the
what?
government to intervene.
Yeah.
Like,
You
no,
don't. Okay. You know what? Nobody held your hand and said, "Hey, you have to subscribe to the president's Twitter feed." Nobody said that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I love when it's a whole news cycle is based on what something that the man says. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, since he's been elected, I've been avoiding Midtown Manhattan like the plague. Oh, God forbid, I will not have the restraint. I know I'll wind up running into fucking either Chris Cuomo or I'll run into like that Don Lemon or that god awful, what's his name, that Setzer, whatever the fuck his name is. I'll wind up saying something to him. Oh God, I can imagine I'll run into Rachel Maddow. She'll try to claw out my eyes. With De Niro. Oh God, if I ran into Robert De Niro, can you imagine that? This friggin' 80-year-old
Man,
little
why
friggin'
can't
Italian guy trying to beat the hell out of me.
I just, you know what? I really enjoy his fucking movies, and I want to
Yeah.
continue to be able to do that. God damn it.
Yeah, you know what it is.
I don't want to know. I don't want to get to know celebrities. Like I don't want to hear them fucking talk about politics. I don't want to
Yeah.
fucking act and enjoy your life. Fuck.
Do you know how many movies that bombed I would have
I
gone
don't
to
know,
see
man.
if they would have
care.
shut their mouths? Like I would have went to go see Ghostbusters. Like when it came out, I seen the commercial. I'm like, oh wow, they're all chicks. In the back of my head, a little something tingled, but I paid it no mind. Then they opened their mouths.
Yep.
It's the same thing when they did. Like I was so pissed off that they had to open their fucking mouths with Rogue One. I had money in hand and was gonna go see it. Donnie fucking Yen in a Star Wars movie. I was hooked. And then they had to let the friggin' staff in front of the camera. And they had the producer and the writer there, and they're like, oh, well, they represent white supremacy, the Empire. I'm like, you motherfuckers.
I'm
You're
like,
not
oh
getting a
man.
dime out of my pocket now.
Like you're just gonna inject it in it, like fuck off. If it doesn't matter
Yeah.
to the story, it doesn't belong in the fucking book or the movie or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like just write a good story. It doesn't have to fucking mean anything. It doesn't have to satisfy its fucking weird outrage mob who seems to not be able to understand that movies aren't reality and that we don't have to represent all races. And it's a fucking movie. These things aren't happening in life. Like, why is this so hard?
It's really simple. You know what? When you get political, and
there's nothing wrong with being political. I'm all for make all the statements you want, but it has to be part of the fucking narrative. It has to be in there as like it has to matter to the plot, not just to be a thing, just to say it, just to satisfy external political things. Like that's sabotage. That's how you destroy a work of art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not how you create one.
Yeah. And it's so sad that so much shit has fallen to the wayside lately because of their insanity. Like the new Star Wars, how they destroyed that Last Jedi with their insane political nonsense.
I didn't go see Solo, and I'm not going to go see the next Star Wars movie. I might download it and watch it when it comes out on fucking video or whatever. But fuck, no way, dude. They fucking lost my fucking ticket.
Well, obviously since I changed the avatar for this channel, but I've always used the Mickey avatar specifically because of how much I dislike Disney. Yeah. And this is actually me waving my dick at Disney. That's how much I get.
I'm real good. I love ironic symbology, and stuff. I use it all the time.
Yeah, it's because of how much they've destroyed everything. I mean, don't even get me started on Marvel Comics. I mean, the one thing I will give Marvel, like Razorfist just released his latest video. He was ranting about Daredevil, and I'm just gonna say this to Razor. Matt Murdock is Irish Catholic from Hell's Kitchen. There is no way on God's green earth he was a Republican. Come on.
Which Daredevil are we talking about? The Netflix series?
The Netflix series. Season 3 is supposed to be SJW across the board.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he
was
watched.
So good.
I'm actually getting ready to. I'm starting season 1.
They can pull it off, right? Because everything's got commentary and symbolism and parallels. All that stuff has always existed in works of art, all the way back to fucking early fucking Renaissance and shit, when people started really talking about things. And but it's like no one really gives a shit if it happens to like if people just want to be entertained.
Yeah, and that's the whole problem, is because
you can do both.
We're in a good time, and it's a prosperous time, and the thing of it is, they're not the ones who brought us to prosperity. Right. They're not the ones who brought us all of this good time. They're not the ones who. So we're going to suffer for it.
Privileged enough to be able to enjoy it.
Yeah. So we're going to suffer at it now for the next 8 years, or 6 years at this point. We're going to suffer for the next 6 years that he's in office, because these people are, especially, oh my God, the second 4 years, it's going to be horrendous.
I know.
And then they're really going to trip out when either Pence or Mattis is elected.
Mm-hmm.
Because they aren't learning.
No, Trump has changed the game, dude. I don't know if you can predict what comes after Trump.
Well, here's the thing. They are continuing the same tactics that lost them election in the first place.
Yeah. Likely a Democrat won't hold that office for quite some time, but he has changed the paradigm, right? If there's one thing that anybody could agree, is that Trump, he's changed everything when it comes to how a president is elected, and he's probably the most probably going to go down as one of the most important people, love him or hate him, in the fucking 20th century.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is like I said, is as long as they do not learn from their from what lost them the election in 2018, and continue to.
If they did learn their lesson, they'd be conservative.
Well, they're in 2016. As long as they don't change as long as they don't learn, as long as they continue their bad action.
Yeah, but so many people have to fundamentally change their whole, like, their person, like themselves, like their values. Like, it's not even about like whose ideas are better.
It's not even that they've changed their. It's not. They've doubled down on their. They've embraced the
Exactly, and it's only going to get worse. So I don't see them learning their. I don't think there's a lesson to be learned. They just need to go away. Like, they're never gonna. It's like asking a serial killer to change, to stop wanting to kill people. It's kind of like, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I mean, they're
not
going
with ideologies. It's fucking against everybody else. So learning the lesson is not, to me. It's not in the cards. And I don't even know what. I don't know what is going to happen, but conservatives are going to take over. And I mean, let's just hope that they don't lose it too.
Well, I mean, all they have to do is behave like normal human beings, and they got it in the bag. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, the mainstream media being on its way out the fucking door, and Trump having changed the office of the president and the election cycle irrevocably, I think we're going to see, things are going to look pretty different in the next fucking few decades.
Oh, damn. I'm looking. The lottery numbers just came out. It was a $1 billion jackpot, and I didn't hit.
Did anybody?
No, it literally just came out. No one knows yet.
Maybe. Man, could you imagine?
Well, get this. Here, let me read the headline really quick to you. The winning numbers for the record 1 billion Mega Millions jackpot were drawn Friday night. The numbers drawn for the second largest lottery prize in U.S. history are, let me see, 15, 23, 53, 65, 70, and Mega Ball 7. A single winner taking the cash lump sum would receive about $565.6 million. Should no one match all the numbers drawn, the next jackpot is estimated at $1.6 billion, about the same as the record 216 Powerball jackpot, with an estimated cash value of $904.9 million.
Wow.
That's fucking insane. I'm hoping no one won.
If I won that, I'm straight up buying a Russian nuclear-powered battle cruiser.
That's so cool.
Yeah, my roommate tried to play the lottery. She won $20 out of it, but
you're gonna try to take over a small country and
no. I'm just gonna force myself into the Clear Lake Yacht Club.
Oh.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
I'm coming through loud and clear.
Okay, I'm making sure because I would say some things and then you guys wouldn't even respond.
I hate when I forget to unmute myself. Oh my god.
Oh, I thought you were talking this whole time to your roommate. I didn't know you were talking to us.
No.
Oh.
I actually told her to shut up. I'm on air.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. Oh, speaking of on air, really quick, guys. We're down to the last 6 minutes of the show. And Irv hopped out, everybody, because he's setting up his after hours. We're going to be... I'm probably going to hop in really quick with Irv for after hours, and say what's up with him. So everyone definitely go check out Irving Twin on his channel. He makes a lot of good content. He's one of the few of us that's actually, belting him out left and right. The rest of us just coast. I throw up content when, when the mood hits. I know you make content too. I'm sorry.
Twice a week on like clockwork, man.
Yeah, I know that, and I was going to get to that when I got to the shilling part, but you stepped on it. But that's even better. Like, why don't you tell us about that? Go ahead and shill. Tell us about that 2 times a week.
Oh well, thanks. Yeah, we do a podcast. Me and my buddy Ryan. It's called Insomnist, and you can get to it. You can go to my channel. There's a link there, and I think I can just post a link. I don't know if I have.
Oh, let me give you a wrench.
Yeah, say something in the chat, and he'll do it.
Yeah.
Be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Saturdays and Wednesdays we do our stream, and it's pretty much like this. We do usually have stories, cover videos and stuff. So we just kind of bullshit, and we try to have a good time. And
yeah, that's basically what this is. It's just, we're pretty intense. That's that. We're not really laid back. Nano does what he does for a living. Burnside, he's security over in the worst parts of Chicago, and my neighborhood is the heroin and opiate capital of the Northeast, if not the country. So
there's a link to my channel. It's not letting me post in the chat.
Say something in the chat, not the link, and he will give you a wrench.
Oh, Dory.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, write something really quick so I can give you a wrench. There we go.
Cool, thank you.
Give me a second. Yeah, give me 2 seconds. There we go. Add moderator. There you go. So now you can post.
Thanks.
And not a problem.
Since it's not my actual, it's not Sinrise channel. It's a different one. So.
Well, whatever. As long as it goes up in there, that's all that matters.
No, it just keeps saying error. Oh, I know. Huh. I know why. I'm not logged into the right account. Probably. Oh, no, wait. Yes, I am. What the fuck? It's not letting me do it.
All right. That's weird.
There it goes. It kept saying error.
It takes a minute for it to take effect.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about the longest plug in history.
It's all right. You must learn patience, Grasshopper.
What's this thing you call patience?
I don't know. I'm looking it up right now.
I believe it's a town in Arizona.
No, it's taught in the U.S. Army Sniper School.
Nice.
I would have learned that if I'd been able to go.
Sorry, it's an all-boys club.
I myself wanted to be a Marine. That's what I went out for. Because Navy, family was all Department of the Navy. But speaking of Army snipers, Nano, tell us a little bit something about yourself. Give us a shill.
Hey, I'm Nano. I have a channel. I don't really post that much shit, but if you insist, you can subscribe, and I might post another video this year.
Yeah, guys, subscribe. I'd really like them to, because, bro, you got a lot of cool shit to talk about. So you should, just start posting videos.
Hey, maybe I'll post one of the new tractor when I get it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It would be cool to have you on. I'm trying to set up a stream where we kind of talk about guns, centered, kind of focused on people who are considering buying their first gun type thing, because I'm one of them and I have a lot of questions. So if that's something that you guys might be interested in, who are knowledgeable, I would like to talk to you about that.
Well, Nano's definitely the man to talk to.
Yeah.
If you can get Nano on and just get on 6, get on the next 6 minutes. Seriously, I'll say that right now.
Nano can sit there and cock and slide a gun, and 6 will be able to identify it just by the sounds.
Wow.
Yeah, he can actually even name the ammo, like what brand and what type. Just from hearing it. It's insane how good 6 is at that shit. Like when we used to have it was me, 6 and Plain Speech. And Plain is another one, I don't know what they call them, there's usually like gearheads or with cars. Well, these 3 guys are like the equivalent of that, but with rifles. So if I could recommend someone for you to have on your stream, I would recommend Nano Reaper, I would recommend the next 6 minutes, and I would recommend Plain Speech right off the top of my head. Those are probably the 3 people I would recommend for you to have on a stream that's dealing with guns and rifles. Definitely.
The correct term is amosexual. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That is so awesome, bro. You got to make that t-shirt.
Insult to. Yeah, I've heard that used in the opposite way.
Amosexual. That's so fucking cool.
Okay, when we're done streaming, I'm going to make it for Redbubble.
Definitely. You got to have Rich draw up a picture. He's in the chat, by the way. He was saying what's up to me. And, yeah, Rich, definitely. I definitely wanted to talk to you about an Avatar. Remind me, if I get time this weekend, I'm going to send you a Google Hangout in Discord so I could talk to you about it. I hate typing. All right, so I'll definitely hit you up when I get a chance, kid. And that's the cue. It's 12 o'clock. Tara, what have you got to shill? Anything?
Not too much. I'm gonna try and do because I'm gonna try and take like a week off of running around for fucking everybody. They can all go suck a dick. After yesterday, yeah, no, I need me time. So what I'm gonna try and do is, if possible, I'm probably gonna have to run it through OBS because Burnside was saying StarCraft was not showing up when I was screen sharing. Is try and do a stream with me just gaming. I wouldn't be able to see anyone's chats from the screen, so I use it on my phones, but that's if I pay attention to it. But I'm going to try and, do some gaming. I had someone suggest I do a Fortnite video, and I'm like, I don't have Fortnite. I also don't see the point in playing a game where you have to build forts in order to kill people. Just run around and fucking shoot them.
All right, well, hopefully you get that all squared away, because I'm actually interested in seeing it. I haven't really seen the new StarCraft, so I'm curious.
Oh, no, this is the original and Brood War.
Oh. Okay, cool.
And I will go ahead and put this out here. Yes, I use the cheat codes. Fuck off.
Who cares?
It's so old, nobody should fucking care.
The only people that care are the Koreans, and they don't matter anyway.
Well, either way, I can't wait to see when you have it up and running finally. But on that note, I'm going to kill this stream. I myself am Scooby331. You guys know that because you're watching this channel, so you know who I am. And you guys can follow me here. I am on Minds.com. I am on GabAI, Patreon, and PayPal. I am on Instagram, but I don't know how to use the damn thing, so I don't post anything on it ever. So it's just there. The only thing I have cooking right now, I still have a few videos left over from DC. I have not uploaded. Haven't gotten around to it, so I should maybe get to it before the next more. So yeah, I'm gonna try to upload those. And tomorrow there are these witches that are going to be hexing Brett Kavanaugh over in Brooklyn. I really, yeah. What's
You're gonna go
not
down there and
hilarious?
laugh your balls off.
I really don't want to go, but I think I have to go just because of posterity. So, unfortunately,
take a tripod so that you can film it and have it not be all shaky from uncontrollable laughter.
Yeah, right.
Witches are so
Or
fucking
if you have
cringy and hilarious.
Yeah.
GoPros have that image stabilization settings.
Oh, okay.
I need a GoPro. I don't have a camera.
At least the Hero, I think 3 and above have the image stabilization.
Yeah.
Well, that is part of what my plug is right now. What I was going to say is I do have a Patreon and PayPal for anyone watching. I am in between cameras and phones. I was looking to get a Galaxy and a GoPro so I could live stream from directly on site with whatever crazy shit is going down. So that is part of why I have this going on. And you can look at my channel here on YouTube. I have a lot of videos up here that I've done with whatever little equipment I could get my hands on. And I'm willing to put in more work to get the stuff together to get a video, to get a camera.
I was going to say, screw Samsung. You know what you need? You need the best phone on the market for rugged reliability. It's even Scooby proof. You need a Caterpillar S41 smartphone. It's got Gorilla Glass that's even tougher than Samsung's. It's waterproof. It's shockproof, drop-proof, and has 38 hours of talk time and 44 days of standby time.
Damn, that would be nice, but I'm not going to swing for the fences like that. I'll just be happy with the.
Unfortunately, since they do not go through, basically you'd have to be on a provider that has a SIM card that you can switch in because they do not sell them through providers. They're just unlocked when you get them.
Yeah.
And they're like $450. And because you can't make payments, it's just like straight up give us the $450. Shipping free, by the way.
Yeah.
I like Caterpillar phones just simply because the fact that they're actually rugged enough to actually be used all day and still have like 50-60% battery left at the end of the day.
That is nice.
And if you can't fuck it up on a farm, or a job site, it's well worth it.
That is nice. It does sound nice. I unfortunately am very tapped for cash. I could not afford 400 for something like that. Just for the simple fact that it's more likely than not going to get ripped eventually and broken, or not ripped and broken because I know that they're hard to break. Just stolen out of my hands, and I'm crippled in one leg, so I cannot chase these fuckers. So
yeah, it's not. There's nothing I can do to make. They can't make a phone that's theft proof. I'm just saying
You
that
make one that has like countermeasures, like spikes come out of it.
Yeah, that
or
would be
just
nice.
shocks the shit out of you if you don't have the right thumbprint.
Yeah, or it shoots a fucking ricin dart into your neck, and you just fucking die.
That would be really sweet.
No one would ever steal a phone again.
Well, I mean, back in the good old days in South Africa, when the carjacking was really bad, they were people were equipping their cars with flamethrowers. That they fill up car, just flambe them.
You know what? We gotta hop onto Herb's channel anyway for after hours. So let's lead in with that. I want to hear about the carjackings and the carjacking proof shit.
I would love to,
South
but
Africa.
I have to jump over onto another previous engagement. So.
Oh yeah. You were telling me about that, bro. Thank you for coming through again. It
Man.
was a
Thanks
pleasure.
for having me on.
Well, hey, it's always a pleasure. It's refreshing to talk to somebody who is also a fellow, I guess, liberal for Trump, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, no other way I could put it. I mean, I'm still trying to convince Tara. She still hasn't convinced. She still doesn't believe the fact that she's one of us.
Yeah, she'll come around.
She will. And on that note, guys, I want to thank you all for coming. I'm Scoobie331. Have a great night, and I'll see you all at Herb's channel. Take care, and bye-bye.